difficult task also. I read all the poems to my office staff again, trying to keep my composure and hold back the tears. But when we narrowed it down to the top 3, I had to read them over again and again and some again. It was like, oh, which one are we going to pick? It was hard for all of us because as we read them, and each time you read it again, you were understanding, putting wearing their shoes and understanding what they're going through with their loss of their loved ones. So thank goodness again that we have kids in our office. So her father was born Gerald Pruss, August 13, 1927 in Appleton. He married Geraldine Kilstone on May 15, 1951. So Jerry and Jerry had 5 children. Wouldn't that be fun growing up with Mom and Dad? Jerry and Jerry? They played some games on Mom and Dad. Jerry walked with the Lord on August 15, 1995. This poem was written shortly after his death by his oldest daughter, Pruss. Gerald was a very hard-working man who had a unique way of making people laugh. He was genuine and sincere and would do anything to help those in need. Gerald had a severe speech impediment, but that didn't stop him from saying exactly what was on his mind. You always knew where you stood with Gerald, but that was also one of his many enduring qualities. He was an avid gardener, and the local neighbors couldn't wait for the annual fall harvest, as Jerry loved distributing his sweet corn and melons to as many neighbors as he could. Sue was inspired to write this poem because she felt the need to get these words out. Why? Because when her dad passed away at the tender age of 68, she never heard him say to her, "I love you." She knew he did, but she never heard those words. Perhaps it was his generation, perhaps it was how he was raised, but she so wanted to hear those words. When he was taken ill very suddenly, he ended up having to be intubated while he was in the ICU. Sue remembered looking at him and telling him that she loved him. The look in his eyes said it all, but all he could do was squeeze her hand. He passed away 7 days later, and shortly after that, Sue wrote this poem titled, God's Plan. Now with Sue, I wasn't able to call her grandmother, but Sue again was very gracious when I asked if she would come to our office to videotape her poem for tonight. She brought some favorite pictures of her with her dad. I also asked Sue if she had a favorite song that we could use for background. With no hesitation, she said, "I can only imagine my mercy song." Because Sue was able to bring me her photos, I was able to scan them directly, so the quality is much better than what Joe was. So please listen carefully to the beautiful poem Sue spoke from her heart after she lost her father at the tender age of 68, titled God's Plan, so that I can only imagine my mercy being playing.
This is a poem that I wrote about my father, Gerald
I
Pruss.
can only imagine.
You left us way too soon, and the morning grass was still clinging to its dew.
When all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only
You laughed and you
imagine.
loved, you shared and you cared. You cried and you felt, and you gave without hesitation.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
You were a man of conviction, and you were a man of nature, and you loved all things that God had given us on this earth. You saw beauty in it all.
What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees?
But most of all, you cherished those things that meant the most: faith, family, commitment, and love. You were taken from us way too soon, but God has great plans for souls like you.
I can only
I'll carry you in my
imagine.
heart forever, every woodland walk, every shoreline stroll. I love you more than words can express. You are my best friend and the best dad ever.
I can only imagine when that day comes.